Welcome back to CC with Moxie. I'm E. I'm a homeschooling mama in Northeast Georgia, and I brought a friend for me today. This is Kathy. Kathy, introduce yourself to our friends.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I am a homeschool mom. Technically I'm not because my youngest has graduated. So I have two children. We homeschooled from preschool all the way through Challenge 4. My oldest is a senior in college this coming year, and my son will be a freshman in college. We did CC for 10 years, and I have been a Challenge 3 director for 5 years, going into my 6th year.
Yes, and I consider her an authority on many matters, and she's so humble she would say she's not an authority, but she is. But dual enrollment, I am definitely not an authority on because my oldest is about to be in her class next year, and we have not done dual enrollment. I know a little bit about it, but she's actually done dual enrollment, and she helps mamas as a Challenge 3 director do dual enrollment. So I said, would you pretty please come and help us today? And she said, of course. I'll come. So we just want to give a bird's eye view of dual enrollment, and I want to just put a couple things out there. Remember, we're in Northeast Georgia, so if you're in a different state, there might be different rules or policies. So this is specific to our area, and it's also stuff that she has knowledge on or our friends have done. So there are many ways to skin this cat. We want to give you a bird's eye view and a little, a couple nuggets here and there of maybe you can go here to research further. But it is doable. A lot of people get nervous going to the upper challenge years, especially Challenge 3 and 4. They start to get nervous about the whole college thing and can we dual enroll? And the answer is yes, you can. So for starters, what is dual enrollment?
So dual enrollment is the opportunity for high school students to take college level classes, which would count towards their high school transcript, the requirements for high school, and college. So they could take one class that earns them a high school and college credit at the same time.
Should you even consider dual enrolling, and what are some things you would think about?
Some of the things I would think about is, how is my student academically? Are they strong academically? Are they disciplined? Is it a challenge to get them to turn in their assignments on time? Or do they feel like a motivated student that is really mature and I feel like is ready for the next step? So those are some of the questions that I would ask. I would also ask, what is your goal? What is your overall goal? Like, why would you dual enroll? What are you trying to achieve? In the state of Georgia, you can get 30 hours of dual enrollment credit for free. CC does offer dual enrollment through a program called CC Plus. There's great information about that on the CC website. But the question I would ask is, are you trying to earn as many credits as you can before they graduate high school? Are you trying to get all of those 30 hours? Or are you just trying to get their feet wet, just have them sample a little bit of college coursework? Things to consider would be the fact that, well, if they do 30 hours in high school, then they're that much younger when they might be making a decision about what their major is, and maybe they're already doing that. If you have a student that is completely focused and knows this is what I want to do, maybe that's a good answer for them. If you have a student who kind of has no idea, I'm not really sure what I want to do, maybe you just take a couple of classes so that they're not forced into that decision too soon. Because if you think about the age when they're going into college, that makes them that much younger.
I've heard, I don't know if this is true, so you can tell us is a myth or fact. I've heard CC kind of prefers, if you're going to do it, they say 11th and 12th grade, don't try it too early. Is that a state thing or is that a CC thing? Do you know?
Well, the state of Georgia at this time, and things can always change, but dual enrollment is for 11th and 12th graders. There might be exceptions for 10th grade, but generally it's 11th and 12th. And one reason why you would, even if that wasn't the rule for the state, CC has front-loaded Challenge 1 and 2 to be heavier than Challenge 3 and 4. So you would have more bandwidth in Challenge 3 and 4 to add something extra to your plate. Because CC knows that your students are probably working and also doing some dual enrollment.
It's like they thought about it or something, people. There we go. I love that. If you're like me and you've never done it, how does dual enrollment even work with CC? Does that mean if I'm using CC plus, my understanding from the website is you're doing most of the work you've already been doing and they just add a few things here and there. But if you decide to not use CC plus and you want to use a local college in your area, can you do both? Is it even doable?
Yes. So just to back up a little bit, a lot of times I'll get questions about dual enrollment or CC. And I definitely don't think that you have to choose one or the other. They definitely can work well together. So for instance, in Challenge 3, we do American history. And I've had a lot of students that love history. So it's a natural thing to go ahead and take that dual enrollment American history class. At CC, they're still a part of the conversation because they're still reading American history. Maybe their assignments are only for the dual enrollment class, but they're still participating in some of those rich discussions and being a part of that environment. So that definitely works well. A lot of students take a math class, and that works really well. They're still part of the math conversation at CC. And the same with an English class where they're writing papers. Maybe they write their papers for the college class, but they're still part of the discussion of Shakespeare plays or ancient literature with Challenge 3 and 4.
There we go. Can you take any class for dual enrollment, or is there a specific list you can choose from?
There is a specific list. So it's not just anything that the college offers. So you would want to go to the college's website and look to see what classes they offer for that. It's typically the classes that would complete your high school curriculum, your required high school curriculum. So
if you were in like a public school, probably.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
So you just brought up a point that reminds me, I hear all the time, to homeschool with the end in mind. So what that means, it probably differs for certain people, but to me what that means is if I know, for example, my third born is engineering minded and she's really got her eyes set on Georgia Tech. So I've been to Georgia Tech's website and I've kind of looked to see, okay, she's coming into high school now. What do I need to make sure she has in order to get into that school? And so you're saying you can go on to Georgia Tech's website and see most of the colleges do dual enrollment, and you can dual enroll through almost any college in our area in North Georgia?
To my knowledge, yes. I haven't seen one that I have looked at that did not offer it.
Okay, so you just have a little bit of work to do to look at certain colleges in the area. But if you dual enroll, here's a great question I just thought of. If you dual enroll in one college, but then say your kid wants to go to UGA, can you dual enroll at your local community college or whatever and then still apply for University of Georgia?
Yes. So again, going back to the college's website, a good rule of thumb would just be look at a few colleges that your student might be interested in, see what they say about transfer credits. My experience was we did dual enrollment with one college. Both of my students dual enrolled with the same college and had no problem transferring credits to two different schools. My kids went to two different schools and we had no issues. But I would always look at that because some schools, maybe Georgia Tech might be one, where there's certain prerequisites for those foundation courses that you're required to take at that college. So those are things that you would find out on that college's website.
Okay.
And kind of on that note too, each college usually has a page dedicated to dual enrollment information, and it's usually very user-friendly, and it will guide you through the steps of how to start, what the deadlines are, what courses are offered, and then what you need to fill out for the state as well.
And then if you're considering these sorts of things, or you're saying, I'm not sure if my kid is quite ready yet, what are some reasons that you might want to go ahead and try dual enrollment?
Well, one thing is it's a great way to see what it is like to have a teacher that's not mom. Because as a CC mom, I can give my student a little bit of leeway. I can maybe extend a deadline, help them out a little bit. With a dual enrollment class, you have firm deadlines for that professor. So I think it's helpful to have somebody else grading their work and giving feedback. And I think it's good to have these hard deadlines that they know. Yeah, it's Sunday night, but you've got to get this done because it's due at midnight.
Mm-hmm. So I know some families like to vacation when everybody else is in school, because then the line at Disney World is a lot shorter. So if you're a family that takes weeks in, October or February, you might want to consider that when thinking of whether to dual enroll, because you still have the deadlines to stick to, whereas when you're just regular homeschooling, you can say as the mom, as the teacher, we're just going to push that back a week and we'll get it done when we get back from our trip. But some places have the opportunity to either do online or in person, right?
Yes. So yeah, if you're a family that wants to travel a lot, or you've got some travel plans for a certain semester, maybe online is the route for you. Some people prefer in person because you have more interaction with the professor. You're going to get more feedback on papers that you turn in. There's more of the relationship building, but the online definitely has a little more flexibility. We definitely had that need in our family when we needed to travel and take care of some things, and so we just were able to take that with us and just make sure that we got it done and met those deadlines. But both have worked well for CC families.
There we go. And then other points to consider, or cautions to think about, maybe on not necessarily the negative side, but just things you'll have to think through before saying, yes, we're ready to dual enroll. What are some things we should consider?
Well, one thing to consider is that you are only allowed 2 withdrawals before you're kicked out of the program. So just knowing that if you get into it, like you've signed up for let's say 2 classes, and you get into it and find, oh, this is too much, and you drop both of those classes as a withdrawal, then you're out of the dual enrollment program. So my advice is always do 1 class. Start with 1 class and think about what your child's strengths are. If your child a good writer, maybe start with the English class. Something that you feel like they are going to be successful in, and allow them the opportunity to really shine in that, something that's going to help them feel good and confident. But definitely starting with 1 class. We actually started in the summer. Both of my kids did their first dual enrollment class in the summer, which you might think is kind of a hard sell, but if they don't have anything else going on, it's helpful. So that went well, and then they also did a class the fall of their senior year. Another consideration is your dual enrollment classes deadlines, they trump everything, right? So if you have stuff due for CC and you have stuff due for that dual enrollment class, that takes priority because that has to go on your transcript. You can't choose not to have that on your transcript. So keeping in mind that deadline is the priority.
So you might be watching this Lovecast thinking, will you just tell me the exact recipe I need to get dual enrollment done? But you need to consider where your child is, what your needs of your whole family are, how flexible can you be, are there financial considerations for whether or not to get some dual enrollment for free already done. And then also your director is going to be somebody to hold your hand, but also people that have gone before you. We can say some general statements on here about what we think is a great idea, but we don't know you necessarily or your exact situation. So never be afraid to reach out to the people in your flock, in your community that have gone before you. They love to share their wealth and knowledge. I don't know. Is there anything else you think we should add about dual enrollment?
Well, I don't know if we mentioned this before as we were talking, but one of the positives of it is I feel like it adds some weight or validation to your homeschool transcript, because as you're applying to colleges, I mean, I might give my child all A's, and maybe the school admissions is like, oh, well, great, mom thought they got all A work. But when I can put a dual enrollment class on there and they also got an A from that, it just validates that. It shows, okay, there's an outside party saying they did A-level work, or whatever, B-level, whatever it is. I feel like it just adds that validation. You don't need that. You don't have to have that. Like a homeschool transcript by itself is perfectly fine. But that is a nice benefit.
There we go. And then just as you go through this journey, sometimes it can feel daunting when somebody says, you know, there's some information on the websites and you're going, how many hours am I going to have to research these things? I know one website you mentioned to me earlier was georgiafutures.org. So that's GAFutures.org. But it really is doable, and you do not have to spend 20 hours researching all this stuff. If you just find a local college in your area and go to their website and find out about their dual enrollment, then you can get the ball rolling. It's not as complicated as I think most moms think it is. A lot of parents I hear, they get a little fearful when we're talking about transcripts for dual enrollment. But you just need to spend a little bit of time doing some research, figure out what your kid needs and what college might be a good fit, and then you can just get the ball rolling just like you would for any other thing you're signing up for, right?
Yes.
So the next,
yes, I would say, just like we talked about earlier, like we are not trailblazers in this. Thankfully, somebody has gone before us, and there's so many people who are a few years ahead of us that you should ask questions of. Like, reach out to those people who have had a child graduate, who have done dual enrollment, who are more than willing to share their experiences with you. That has been the biggest help for me, has been to ask questions of those who have walked the road ahead of me.
yes, and if you're at a community, one of the communities we're at is a little bit younger, and so our oldest class right now is Challenge 2, and you might say, but Kathy, I don't have any trailblazers or people ahead of me at that community. Reach out to our SR Nancy. She is a wealth of knowledge on other directors and other moms who have gone through this, and she's happy to connect you with other people. And I know that people like you that have gone before, you're happy to talk to moms whether you know them or not, correct?
Correct.
There we go. We won't blow up your phone necessarily, but if you are in a community that's younger and you feel like you don't have that in your community, reach out to your local support representative. We're here to help you. We want to take the burden off and allow you to do this with Moxie, right? So as you're getting ready for your year this year, or maybe you're considering dual enrollment, don't forget to CC with
Moxie!
Moxie. Thanks, guys.